Hello, Galaxy! I'm Chris Pirillo, and I am a 1 month old vegan. I made it. I have quite a few updates to share this week, and I didn't realize I'd have so many updates until I went to compile a few last minute things. And this may very well be a long update, which is good for some people because a few of you have enjoyed me sharing these experiences. And one person even suggested that she listens to me in the car almost like a podcast. Now, as much as I would like to continue to do a series like this, I'm not sure how much longevity is in discussing weekly updates in relation to my decision in becoming a vegan, because I'm pretty much sure I am. I'm not just leaning at this point, I am. I made it 1 month and am not in any position to turn that trend back around and reverse all the progress that I've made. And that's an indefinite suggestion. For those who are interested in my weight, I have lost 14 pounds of fat. 13 pounds of fat. I should refer to my notes, and I have a copious amount of those. 13 pounds. So I'm down to 144, and that's good news. It's down, I think, like 3 pounds from last week. I'm still, trying to discover how I can optimize my nutrition as well as my caloric goals, while eventually finding my way back to a good weight, or a solid weight, like having a healthy BMI, as well as watching my muscle mass and water mass and even bone density. So we have a scale that shows you all of those numbers, and as it stands, I'm doing well in the weight department. So I'm very happy to say that in a month's time, I lost 13 pounds. So you may find the same amount of progress. Of course, every body is different. But if you're interested in dropping, say, the same amount of weight or even some weight in a month's time, you could find yourself a slimmer you, even if it's just slightly slimmer. So now, on that point, I have a shirt on. And trust me, you're grateful for that, because I am extremely white, especially without a shirt on. I was working on a dad bod, as they call it, and that does not make me happy at all. Did not make me happy. I wore this shirt 1 month ago, and so I wore the shirt on July 4th. It's the only shirt that I have that effectively has red, white, and blue, and of course it's very fitting, so to speak. And there's a play on words there, because when I put the shirt on for the first time in the longest time a month ago, I was very upset, because immediately I knew it was not fitting the way it used to fit. And mind you, me saying this, I'm probably 10 to 15 pounds, not just further along than I was a month ago, but even needing to lose another 15 pounds or so of fat. So the last time I wore this, I may have weighed maybe 10 pounds less. I may have weighed 135, give or take. So it was like, you've ever put on a shirt, right? It's like, okay, I'm obviously exaggerating because it's fitting a little more loosely today. I'm grateful for that. It's showing progress. It's not just looking at a number. It's like progress. I can see that I'm fitting into the clothes which used to fit me quite well. So I'm happy about that. I'm very happy about that. I'm wearing a shirt on a 1 month anniversary, because at that point on July 4th, this year, I didn't know what to do. I was, stuck in that cycle of gain weight, lose weight, hearing this advice contradicting that advice. And is this really good? Or do you do things this way, or do you do things that way? Well, this used to work and this should work and it doesn't work. And how am I going to do it again? So I was stymied a month ago. And that was what precipitated the change into recognizing the validity from a health perspective of leaning vegan, and ultimately, even a month later, finding myself falling even more in love with the idea of being a whole food, plant-based vegan, because that's what I am. It's just it. Another little tidbit. I replaced my wallet, finally. It was falling apart anyway. It was leather. Now I've got one that's not made of leather. So slowly but surely, I'm changing things in my life. The wallet was the next thing to go. And then the belt, it is definitely worn, but I really don't know which belt I'm going to go with yet. I haven't found one anywhere that I might want to wear on a regular basis. Moreover, I know I'm not done losing weight at this point to necessitate needing a new belt. But that'll be the next thing to go. I've got a few things that I'm definitely going to cover, and I've done my best to organize them in sections. But, you know, on the point of making more videos, people like when I do videos, and I do like doing videos. It's just that I recognize I don't want to flood out a channel. I don't want to create a new channel. I don't want to create a new anything. And I don't know what to do with everything that I'm learning, because I want it to be a golden opportunity for everybody else out there to learn vicariously, potentially, or just to follow the progress. I don't know how it's going to go, but like I said last week, I'm absolutely interested in getting feedback. When we posted our oil-free hash browns video, one person commented, "I wasn't expecting, when I turned on notifications for this channel, that I would receive this tip at 1 in the morning and then enjoy a delicious plate of hash browns at 1 in the morning." It was really funny, but I'm like, that's kind of what you get with Chris Pirillo. You get a lot with me. You know, I'm many things, not just one thing. So the first section that I have here, I thought it'd be kind of interesting to kind of bring up some comments that I've seen over the past week, and sometimes even beyond that. But one comment that I saw was, I think, more emotional, and I think a lot of the reactions that people have when you discuss anything that causes them to reflect on their choices and paints their choices in what could be perceived as a negative choice. Someone has suggested, "I would die without meat." Others have suggested, "I would die without cheese." But the ironic thing is that, well, number one, you won't die by not ingesting those things. Or let me put it to you this way. A majority of the population won't, scientifically speaking. And you can turn to the research done by the cavalcade of doctors, and I think I'll rattle them off at some point. If I don't, remind me, and I'll do that next week. I die without meat. Actually, you'll die with meat. I mean, you'll die. You're going to die either way, right? That's not... The game isn't whether you die or not. The game is, can you live as long as you can, live as well as you can, live as happily as you can. And by and large, the picture that's painted is a foundation in a whole food plant-based diet. Yeah, sure, you know, you may enjoy the taste of cheese. I'm not going to disagree with you there, man. I loved cheese. But the thing is it's doing you more harm than it is good. I don't know if I made this note because I was thinking about it when I was driving. I do a lot of thinking. I do thinking and driving. You shouldn't do that, I'm told. So I thought, you know, in relation to what we eat and how our body responds, we see eventual reactions by and large. So you ingest a lot of something that you shouldn't be ingesting, in the response to your that your body, I guess, exhibits, the response that occurs. It may not be immediate, and it may not be visual. And that, I think, is a further disconnect between what people believe is good for them and what actually may be better for them. Because you don't have an immediate response. I mean, I could eat poorly for, you know, weeks and not see an immediate return on investment for another month, right? You know, change doesn't always happen immediately. Some changes do. And that, I think, is probably more frightening, because the changes that your body goes through, specifically when you're eating some kind of food stuff, you should be paying more attention to, because you have to eat. And if you're going to eat something that your body is going to benefit from. And I don't just mean in terms of a quick energy boost, because there's more to it than that. We are a complex system. It'd be like taking care of a computer, right? You may think that running some kind of software check on your computer is going to keep things clean, but as a matter of fact, if you are in an area that is prone to dust and fur and hair, you may actually be sucking a lot of that into your system, and it eventually could fry one of the components, right? It's probably the best explanation, or I guess corollary, I can make in relation to I would die without meat. But you won't. By and large, there are exceptions to the rule. That's an emotional response. It's not a logical response unless you have a certain condition that can only be treated that way. Because you got to accept exceptions. And then I further thought, actually, I'll get to this in a second. Allergies. Remind me about allergies and the body's response, specifically with immunity. The next comment I want to jump to is, I'll eat your burger for you. Gee, thanks. I'm not asking you to hurt yourself. That's what's so twisted. I'm the crazy one? Okay, not going to deny the flavor. I can't. I will not deny the flavor. Flavor is absolutely impactful. But some guy, I don't have the exact quote, but he was talking about, I'll eat like a lion. I'm like, really? You're going to eat raw meat? You sure about that? Okay, that's usually not how humans consume meat. And I think that even for meat eaters, we understand that, generally speaking. If it's not prepared in such a capacity that it could actually do you more harm than good, because your body was not designed for raw meat. We just don't have those pathogens. We don't even have the pH balance in our stomach acid. And I apologize if I'm not being as scientifically accurate as a nutritionist, as a medical doctor, because I'm not one, but I never presented myself one. I'm just sharing my experiences and perspective with one. Although I have thought, I'm like, what? How hard would it be to become a nutritionist? I never thought about a career change at this point in my life. At 44, even my friend Ryan, I'm in the section of comments, so this is a very apropos, said, how do you look so young? It may actually, it's probably hereditary, but it may actually be due to antioxidants and or the amount of free radicals that my body may be taking care of without, enough antioxidants. But it's a mix of a lot of things. I say it's because I stay out of the sun. 5 minutes a day, I get all the vitamin D I need. I don't even like those 5 minutes a day in the sun. I'm not a plant. I don't need chlorophyll, right? So I know sunlight's important, and we're getting plenty of it this summer here in Seattle. That is for sure. I actually got caught up in a thread that was in relation to a news story that I hope to bring up here in just a few minutes. This is verbatim. I see you're vegan, spelled Y-O-U-R. I think you know where this may be going. Facts no longer affect you. How, again, am I the one paying attention to science, research, long-term studies, medical advice from professionals who have treated patients who might have certain conditions that would very well be improved, not just from a vegan diet, but specifically a whole food plant-based diet? And we're talking about, I guess I'll drag them in now if I can remember all of them. And I'm going to miss one, so I apologize. Barnard, Esselstyn, McDougall, and Gregor, and I mean the list goes on and on. Ornish, and I mean it's just on and on for and you're gonna have, not infighting, but you're gonna have disagreements in terms of what one might do with the data. But generally speaking, those doctors are mostly on the same page. But it's not rooted in emotion; it's rooted in fact. So if anybody's rooted in fact, it isn't you for asserting that because I've chosen to be vegan based on science, based on evidence, that facts are no longer relevant, because it was facts, or a series of facts, that ultimately swayed me. Like you can choose whether or not you're going to ignore facts, or you're going to pick and choose which facts you want to believe. That's not generally how facts are effective. That's my approach. It's a logical approach. It's an unemotional approach, and that, to me, is the most twisted part. It's an unemotional approach to the situation, but for some reason or another, the moment you say vegan, it's a trigger for them, not you. Or if you've chosen this as a path for yourself, but them. Every single response I get is emotional. It's not me being emotional. Trust me, we're all human. We get emotional about things. I get passionate, but it's not like here. Like someone asserts something that's just like wildly, like it doesn't make sense. Or they make an assertion based upon faulty data that could be interpreted one of two ways, but that's where you look for peer-reviewed and like how many of these people agree or disagree with this assertion and why. And then you basically gather those things together and then, draw your own path best you can. So I just thought that was just wildly out of order, but I guess not the case, because it seems that as much as they think vegans are the crazy ones, I'm just saying there's evidence to the contrary. We're the crazy ones? Okay. Happy to be crazy, I guess. That's never stopped me before. Another comment I get, and even, I mean, I understand this one very well, but it's not an emotional response. I think it's just it's a roadblock you're putting up in front of yourself without exploring. And I'll dive further into this. I don't like vegetables. This is a comment that I've heard from a few people, including from people within my family, who've made good choices for themselves, different choices, of course. But I don't like vegetables is a common response that I'm seeing more frequently. But I'll tell you, I don't either. Like, if I'm not gonna kid, right? Like, vegetables aren't necessarily a first choice for me. Like, I would fight Diana when you say you have to have a vegetable on your plate. I'm like, but you know, I've learned a lot over the years. Not having liked broccoli, because bless my mom's heart, I don't know if we really had the opportunity to get fresh vegetables, and the preparation that a frozen vegetable might have gone through, as you know, from not just how it landed into the bag, but how it was prepared in real life, gave those pieces of broccoli a completely different flavor to me compared to when I tried broccoli and enjoyed it for the first time as a teenager, separated from a bagged or a frozen vegetable, and I had it fresh, and I had seasoning salt on it, but I was like, this isn't bad. Even spinach, and like, it was just how it was prepared, not so much what it was, right? Now there are certain vegetables no corn, no peas, not a fan of cooked carrots. There are probably more vegetables I don't like compared to the vegetables I do like, but I don't choose to focus on the things that I don't enjoy and I don't want, and concentrate on the things that I do want, and from there expand. So I think that's a hurdle that we place for ourselves potentially. I don't like vegetables. I'd be shocked. Now, there was one person who asserted that he I guess, gags when he eats vegetables. That's my response to corn and peas, and that's been that way since childhood, just like with milk. Never liked it. Not a fan. So I get it. But I think some of that has to do with not just how it was prepared, but texture, complementary flavors, even your age, right? I've come back to certain things, like Brussels sprouts. Not a huge fan of Brussels sprouts outright, but I have eaten them, and I don't have the same type of gag reflex in eating them today. I could get through a Brussels sprout and be fine. Cabbage I used to not like, but in having it prepared a different way, I do enjoy it. So I think it's a flippant response to say I don't like vegetables. There are far too many that you could choose from. It's not just a one thing, right? It's not just a one size fits all. But I said the same thing about beer and coffee. I don't like coffee. I don't like beer. I'm like, how have you had it before? Which ones did you have, right? I don't like wine. Which wine did you not like? Why, right? There's so many varieties that can do you good. Same thing with fruits, right? I mean, there's some fruits I absolutely do not like. Cantaloupe being like right up there. If you ask me what fruit do you not like, so I don't like vegetables. I think is another convenient excuse that people take, such that they don't have to overcome other hurdles in their life to help them achieve their goals. If they're feeling unhealthy, or if their body's responding a certain way that they don't like, it's probably telling them something, and food could very well be the answer. The right food. It's not just eating something. It's eating something that your body could use specifically for whatever it is that happens to be ailing you. I will get back to that example in just a moment. But the one thing I will note, this has been a challenge for me. You'd think, again, like, well, you must like vegetables. I don't like vegetables. It's not a thing, right? It's not like, I love vegetables. I like a range of foods, but what pulled me in wasn't necessarily the allure of tasty foods. It genuinely wasn't. I'm discovering new tastes. I'm discovering how not just what I'm eating can be enjoyed, but also the benefit, the direct benefit, and how that works. Nutritional science, right? Stuff that I thought taught in grade school, right? But do as I say, not as I do, right? So I keep saying that. It's an unintentional response. We all have these little quirks. I guess I say right? But here's a big hurdle that just a few people know who might have tracked me for a period of time. A few years ago, I noticed that in eating certain foods, I would have a reaction. And I didn't make the connection immediately. And as soon as I did, I got a little frightened, honestly. For example, I would eat a banana. And immediately, I would feel this kind of tingling on my tongue, and like kind of my inner ear would be kind of itchy and kind of scratchy, like tingles. And, I was like, well, why am not a big deal. And then I tried to, again, just randomly, I had like jicama. I do like jicama, and that's one thing that I hope to try in the immediate future to test something. But jicama, I would have the same type of response. In fact, I had probably a more, not violent, but a stronger response to it, where my mouth really tingled. Like, I could just feel just tingle, not numbness outright, but my ears, tongue, throat, my body was reacting. Same thing would happen with cherries. Same thing would happen with nuts, certain nuts over other nuts, specifically raw nuts. Other fruits might have impacted me the same way. And avocado was another one. Nuts and fruits tended to trigger this in me. It's something known, as I did some research, why does my mouth tingle when I eat blah, blah, blah. According to Wikipedia, and I self-diagnosed this, but all signs point to oral allergy syndrome, which is something that could occur in adults if you might have had hay fever as a child, which I had. I still have allergies. They're not as dramatic as they used to be. Even this season, being as warm and as dry as it is in Seattle, isn't hitting me, incredibly hard. But I have oral allergy syndrome. It is a thing. And there's a list of foods that I can't eat without expecting a response. Now, there have been times that I've eaten, let's say, a raw avocado, and not had a reaction. What it is, and from my understanding, is that it's not the food itself, it's where it might have been grown. So if pollen, if you're familiar with hay fever at all, and ragweed, which I am allergic to, and anything that, is outside, that gets in your system and your body responds with an allergic reaction, basically the pollen is deposited or basically infused in that fruit or that nut. So that hurts. It really does. It's never been anything more than just a minor agitation. And the range in terms of intensity has been all over the map, but I always tread very carefully with that. But how I learned to work around that was very simple. Cook the food. That's it. Basically burns everything off, burns off the pollen. A banana I can ingest. I'll have it in oatmeal, sweetens up the oatmeal, gives you, nutrients in the oatmeal, gives you a fruit serving in the oatmeal. As long as it's more of a ripe banana, because a raw banana may actually not just break down less easily, but it will also potentially induce constipation, which is an issue I'll get into in just a moment. Look forward to that, I'm sure. But cooking the nut or the fruit effectively mitigates the problem outright. So I can enjoy those things. It's just that I have to enjoy them differently. I'm not sure if the changes that I've gone through in terms of increasing the amount of not just antioxidants that I might ingest on a daily basis throughout the day, but also anti-inflammatory items, specifically spices. I don't know if that is going to change anything in terms of my body's response in relation to oral allergy syndrome, but it's absolutely a thing. It's not debilitating. It's just a very minor inconvenience that I've learned to work around. So I don't want to hear that I don't like this if it's a convenient excuse that precludes you from moving forward and actually being, on the whole, a more healthy self, or discovering more about nutritional science. And the last comment I wanted to bring up was in relation to another word that I hear a lot, but what I hear is not what you're saying. And some people understand this and admit it even, and I don't confront them on it, but I understand when someone says moderation. Well, I believe in moderation. Science doesn't care what you believe in. You're like, do you believe in science in moderation? Well, no. Why would you? Who would say that? Who would say, I believe in science in moderation? Yes? Results can be interpreted 7 ways from Sunday, but generally speaking, over a period of time, if it's seen time and time again, this produces that result in this population, this study, and that study, sources of funding for any particular study, and you weed out all the misinformation or disinformation, and there's a lot of it. Do you believe in science? Yes. Okay, so then your answer is not that you believe in moderation in terms of body science, because that's what it's about. It's not about food. It's about body science. It's about nutritional science. Do you believe in nutritional science? Yes or no. It's not, do you believe in it? That's moderation. Moderation is believing you can have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I don't know if I could necessarily, without introducing an emotional argument, I don't know if I could. I can't debate that because it's not cogent. I understand why you say it because you want to have those things, but that's cogent because it's your choice. It's a personal choice. But talking about moderation that's not how science works. It's not how data works. It's not how health works. Generally speaking, there are exceptions to the rule, but what I'm saying is when someone says, I want things in moderation, they want their cake and they want to eat it too. They want to have both halves. They want to have a healthy body, but they also want to eat things that aren't very good for their body or not going to elicit the same type of responses another food stuff might be, for whatever reason. So moderation is, I see it and I'm like, okay, moderate all you want. You may find yourself confused or frustrated because the problems that you have cannot be solved on the current path that you're on in moderation. But if you eliminate variables from the table, you're left with a set of a reasonable set of opportunities to further your cause, rooted in science. That right there, and I think that to me it's a huge leap for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. Food is emotional, more emotional than I ever would have imagined. So anyway, that's a thing. Moderation, but I don't believe it. Believe it for yourself, but I think you're just saying that it's easier to not control what goes in your body, or you don't want to. I can't debate that. No one can debate that. I can't debate a personal choice. So that's it in terms of the comments that I wrote down. Now this one's going to be a healthy list, so to speak. This week, my shout out, if I have, not that I'm doing weekly shout outs, I've talked about certain people that I've discovered over time. Dr. Gregor of nutritionfacts.org is a treasure trove, and he's got so many videos. If you can think about it, he's probably done a video on it, and he's written a book, How Not to Die. He's got just an amazing wealth of information and data and interpretation that he surfaces in such a capacity that it just fits, right? It fits me, right? You move me by facts, not by feelings. And Dr. Gregor, I would wholeheartedly recommend just watching a few of his videos, going to his website. You can follow him throughout social and whatnot. He's now become one of the people that I absolutely I'm a follower of, if you will, at a distance, of course. But let me go ahead and explain to you how some of his videos have impacted me. I've talked over the past few updates, going almost all the way back, that about a month ago I started having headaches, right? And it'd be nightly, it'd be every night. And then as I had mentioned, I was troubleshooting with, it wasn't my prescription. I thought, well, maybe it's my vision, and it's going, well, yeah, I guess that might have helped a bit, but my headaches keep coming back, so it wasn't that. What else could it be? Blah, blah, blah. Gone through, and had tension headaches, and I've had them before, and it would just seem to fit that profile. I've got, tight muscles on both sides. I get headaches like towards the end of the day. No matter what, really, I mean, they vary in intensity, but they radiate in such a way that they would be clinically defined now that I have had an opportunity to get, everything checked out. It is most likely a tension headache. So I'm working on getting a massage therapist thing going to kind of help work out where I've always carried stress in my muscles. Like Diana would start massaging, and like right after, all my symptoms would be gone. So anyway, I'd have these headaches. I've always, as far back as I can remember, tried to avoid any kind of medication if I can. That's also been a motivator for this choice, right? I just don't want to. I don't want to deal with it with a pill. I just don't. I'm not a pill taker. I I don't want that. If I can avoid it at any cost, if only because it's a cost, I just don't want it. I see too many. I don't want the pills. I'm not a fan of pills. So that left me with a slight frustration. Do I drink enough water? Yes, I drink enough water. What can I do to fix the headaches without taking medication? Which of course would work. You know, the pill, I took it a couple times and it attenuated the problem, right? But the problem is with any of those types of pills that you might take to relieve pain, specifically like headache pain, they can wear away at your stomach lining, and they're not necessarily good for you outright. I mean, they're a pill; it's a medication, an over-the-counter medication, but they're not good for you, right? So I have effectively suffered through headaches, and my evenings for the past month have just been written off. Like, you know, come the evening, I'm like, Diana, I'm going to lay down, I'm going to rest, I'm going to try I've been up all day doing whatever, and I just don't want to get a headache because I can't fix it. So then I watched this little video that Dr. Gregor posted. You're not going to believe this. In fact, I'm thinking about doing a separate video on this alone because no one's going to believe it. How I fixed my headaches. How to address your headaches. Whatever the search term is for it. You're not going to believe it. I couldn't believe it. As the moment I watched this a couple days ago, I was like, what? Like, there's no way. This sounds like when I tell Diana, when I see someone talking about pseudoscience, I'm like, it sounds like a bunch of hooey, right? Like, okay, yeah, gotcha. I tend not to get into I guess there are hooey parts of veganism too, like with herbs and magical potions and sprays and crystals, and I'm like, I'm good. But this sounded so... You're not going to believe it. You may already know the answer. Cherries, specifically Bing cherries, sweet cherries, which, by the way, are raised in Washington. Not Rainier. They wouldn't have as much of an impact. But apparently, and in my very limited experience, I've discovered this to be true, cherries, with their properties, and I'm not going to deep dive into the scientific angle, not only because Dr. Gregor has done a fantastic job, but the medication could, yes, inhibit your pain receptors, but it could also damage your stomach. Cherries will do a better job at inhibiting the pain that you feel, but not, damage your stomach, or I guess, eliminate your stomach's possibility of retaining the lining within it. And there are different, the terminology I'm really fuzzy on. What I'm here to tell you is that what he said, and what's been backed up by research, which I assume, was surfaced for a good reason, because it worked for me, it worked. I popped 10 cherries, 10 Bing cherries, fresh. Did not have an oral allergy response, but the effect was I was kind of feeling something. So like I said, I've kind of been going back here to like massaging like throughout the day. But if you see me doing this, the response was immediate. Like in terms of like when I would expect the medication to kick in. Took 15 cherries, of course, pitted, and that was it. I didn't have a headache that night. So it was right before dinner, like right as we're coming into evening time. I was feeling something like, okay, I think today I'm gonna get the headache. Time to take the cherries. Last night I was kind of feeling like, okay, let me try to stay ahead of it. Did 10 cherries, kind of felt something, but I'm like, all right, let me move it to 15. Didn't have a headache. Was able to get through the night. Didn't have a headache. So there are amazing properties to cherries, not the least of which is they kept me from getting a headache. Cherries. So I told Diana, do you know how angry I am? Not that this worked, but that I wasn't told that how many years ago? That's how angry I was when I realized it worked. Why did nobody tell me? Nobody. Not a doctor. Doctors usually don't know nutrition. But nobody. Nobody in my family, no friends. How could you not know that cherries, specifically sweet cherries, Bing cherries, could address pain? I had no idea. This is not a chronic thing. This is just, hopefully it's just a passing thing. But what? Cherries. So, you heard it here first. 15 cherries did it for me. 2 nights in a row. Coming off of a regular expected headache once a night for the past month or so. Because of, I'm assuming a tight muscle. And that is after professional inspection. So, and I'm not the professional. Believe me, I'm far from it. Tension headaches. Any kind of headache. Try cherries. Try cherries next time. I'm serious. Let me know. If you knew this tip and you didn't tell me, I'm going to be angry at you. But tell someone else, right? Cherries. Who knew? I'd have been taking cherries decades ago. Cherries. Cherries. So that's one video I'll link you off to there in the description. And then, as I was mentioning in an earlier update, I've been looking for complementary spices for my food for flavor. And then I recognize, let me see if I can make every bite count. What are spices that I might want to eat that would actually have a deep impact in terms of, my body and how it accommodates, not just for the flavor, but, what does it do with the body? Or how does it work inside the body? And that is when I stumbled into another nutrition info video, Dr. Gregor, about 4 spices that are connected with a better response within your system in relation to inflammation. And it's not that inflammation has necessarily been a concern for me. I've never really exhibited anything that I think would be indicative of having inflammation issues. But every little bit helps, right? If I can lower any kind of opportunity to get inflamed for one reason or another, I'm all for it, right? So rosemary, ginger, turmeric, and clove apparently are anti-inflammatory spices. And the good news is of the 4, I like 3 of them. Ginger, not so much. Possibly if it's in with other stuff, I can take it in. Ginger's not necessarily in my flavor profile outright, but rosemary I love. Turmeric is good stuff. Clove I've always loved. So now on a daily basis, it's at least rosemary, turmeric, and clove are a part of my plan throughout the day. And I'll get to a little bit of that in just a moment. So another thing that you might remember is I gave up coffee almost immediately for a few reasons. One, I knew that it was potentially dragging me down. I knew that, yes, there's suggestions that coffee may be good, but there's also suggestions that coffee may not be as good because it's got good properties, but it also has not so good properties. I've, basically, I gave it up. So I'm fine with that. I think my body's responded or adjusted, appropriately. But in watching the video Coffee and Artery Function, again, this is another one from Dr. Gregor, the suggestion is made that black tea may actually be better, or likely be better, in terms of your arterial function and the role of caffeine without all the things that might come with coffee. You can get the same potential benefits with tea. So I basically found a tea, and I'll get to this when I talk about food choices here in a second, that basically don't give me the benefit of caffeine, which I'm not looking for outright for a kick, because tea doesn't have as much, specifically in the same liquid amounts, but more for knowing that it could benefit my body and how nutrients get here and how this works and how that works. So I will tell you that I'm drinking tea on a daily basis and very happy with that. Another video that he did titled 4 Brazil Nuts a Month. I'm like, what? Okay, this is very, and he even presents it as such. Very limited research has been done on this, and I guess it was just with the study with just 10 people. And I believe it was also asserted that nobody in the Brazil nut industry funded the study, but 4 Brazil nuts a month may lower your cholesterol. This is the video he asserts with the science of the study and everything. I'm like, okay, it's worth a shot. High cholesterol has been an issue for me. I can eat 4 Brazil nuts a month and not feel incredibly guilty about that, specifically raw, unsalted. He says, my family and I eat 4 Brazil nuts a month because he says he believes it doesn't necessarily hurt anything, and I'm paraphrasing. But I'm like, okay, if that does anything, because of the limited study that was done, because that to me would be an amazing study to, you basically expand upon. There's something in that. But yeah, so we're going to be taking 4 Brazil nuts a month. I know, it's hard work eating tasty nuts. But yeah, they did that video. I'm like, I got to tell you about it. I watched it, and that's going to change my patterns. In terms of tea, another video that I pointed to, or will point to there, you can look in the description. What's better than green tea? I go back to the black tea, but potentially for your antioxidants, hibiscus tea, which I have enjoyed, even though it's not something that's like green tea at all, like the genmai cha that I've enjoyed with sencha and rice. Uh, it's it's sour. It's bitter, and I like that. Granny Smith apples are my apple, right? So hibiscus would be that. Knowing that you'd want to rinse your mouth out, not long after you drank that because of the high acid content. You don't want to ruin your enamel, or sip it through a straw. But yeah, that's something you may want to look into if you're looking for a tea with high impact, specifically antioxidant impact that will make it such that after your antioxidant levels diminish after a couple hours after eating, you just have some tea to keep your antioxidant levels up, to keep those free radicals down, to keep your body working peak. You would enjoy this as a sipping drink, hot, like almost like a cider, in the fall and the winter, even to chilled as a beverage, a chilled beverage, in summer. So hibiscus, I would look into it, right? It's good. Even if I don't like tea, just try it. Try it. It's like a fruit drink. Specifically for someone who doesn't drink sugary drinks, it's like a fruit drink to me. And a lot of people have said the same thing, truthfully. Let me put it this way. It's safe enough that some people give it to their kids. I don't know if that's completely safe. There's no caffeine or anything in it. But just FYI. So one thing that I did learn in relation to turmeric that I want to add here, which I probably could have added before, but it needs black pepper and or fat for it to go through your system or be usable by your body. Because what will happen is turmeric can sometimes be processed and eliminated by the liver and never have a chance to, really benefit you apart from what you might have enjoyed with flavor. So if you're going to have turmeric, have black pepper, or like curry from my understanding, not a curry expert, I don't even have any curry right now, but I will be going in and getting some soon, is turmeric and black pepper. So the combination is in curry outright. So now with turmeric, I have black pepper and a little bit of fat, and I'll explain that in just a moment. I know this is very popular, so I may do this as a separate video as well, like what do I eat? I don't have an exact plan, but I'm working through and finding new patterns, consistently changing, consistently adapting, and adopting new strategies to maximize my intake, maximize my health, and really eating, making every bite count up until and including today, and learning more about mushrooms. And seeing the benefit of them, cooked mushrooms specifically, for all sorts of reasons. But yeah, mushrooms are now part of my plan. So I'm just going to give you, since you watched this deeply into the video, you deserve to know outright. Right now, and this changes constantly, or it gets adjusted. Breakfast is steel cut oatmeal with cinnamon. Right now, a few goji berries kind of sprinkled in, and a Granny Smith apple after and before. Now that fruit can be replaced by any fruit that we might have on hand, but I find I enjoy Granny Smiths. I'll have the fruit as I'm preparing the oatmeal. It takes about 20 minutes for steel cut oats, and then the Granny Smith afterwards. So I'm set. The breakfast has set me up for success in the morning. Lunch is usually quinoa with beans that Diana's prepared, like pinto beans. And I usually sprinkle in like a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of Nooch or nutritional yeast for vitamin B, vitamins. Not so much for flavor, because a lot of it is dominated by the bean. I'll sprinkle in some rosemary, which I love, and then have a few walnuts with tomato and black pepper. Black pepper is a good spice. Black pepper is not... there's no reason for me to eat black pepper in this context because there's no turmeric outright. But I like tomato outright. I could eat it, but I enjoy it with... I do enjoy it with pepper. So why do I take the walnuts? Because the vitamins that might be in, let's say, the average salad, or the minerals or anything that might be in the salad, they're fat soluble, so you need a little bit of fat. Well, in learning what I've learned about walnuts, walnut seems to be the nut, for me at least, not just in relation to its omega-3 properties, but specifically in your body and how it accommodates the walnut, all the way up to and including... Oh, I didn't link this. You could potentially burn more fat than anything. The research that was done suggests that people who eat walnuts as a part of their diet could actually be burning fat, like as they sleep. It just burns, the equivalent of, God, what was it? Several pats of butter. Like, I was like, what? So I was like, okay, I got to look into this walnut thing a little more. And I'm like, all right. So now I'll have like 5 walnuts at lunch. I'm going to be adding 5 walnuts to breakfast, and also I talk about having walnuts here in dinner. But that gives me about an ounce, which is about the recommended amount, not safe amount, but like a recommended amount that gives my body more than what it would normally get, but also the benefits that would come with raw or at least baked walnuts, and I have to do them that way because I had mentioned the OAS, but no salt. Dinner is usually the hash browns. We did the little recipe video. It's not really a recipe. Sometimes Diana will throw in onion. Now she'll be throwing in mushroom, onion, pepper, whatever you have, kind of vegetable medley, almost like an omelet, a potato omelet, and then roll it up into kind of a burrito, a potato taco. But the that is the basis of the meal, and that's usually about 1.5 potatoes. She suggests that the Yukon Gold variety, or the non-Idaho potato, the russet potato that has a rough skin. She likes the lighter skin that may be more soluble for me to digest even. So we kind of vacillate between those two options. Whatever's on sale is usually what we go with. But then I have that, it's turmeric is in there. It's about a teaspoon of that, black pepper crushed in, and then with greens on the side, like a spinach or broccoli or a medley, super greens, not salad or anything like that. A few walnuts, if only so that I can benefit what I might be eating with the greens, anything that's fat soluble, and then I'll have like a fruit after dinner. And or even now, before dinner, I'll have 15 cherries for the headache, which is a nice habit to get into. So I'm definitely doing that. Oh, I forgot to add, because this is something that I changed 2 days ago. With lunch, I have 2 tomatoes as well. So 2 tomatoes. Yeah, never mind. I did say tomatoes. Sorry, I moved it from 1 to 2 today, so that's why that was the change that I made for lunch. Evening snack, might be a little fruit, or air popped mushroom popcorn. Now this threw everybody off. Like, I didn't know it existed until it was on the store shelf. This little bag, $2. It said magic mushroom popcorn, and I was a little concerned. I'm like, do I want to get this? But I've been to the store before. It's where we get a lot of our goods on sale, like on clearance. They're about to expire, they're overstock or whatever. Anyway, so we got an air popper, $20 or whatever it was. Magic mushroom popcorn is not the popcorn that you're used to. You may have had gourmet popcorn before, and that is what is, from my understanding, described as mushroom popcorn because of how it basically flowers like a mushroom, as opposed to what is known as butterfly popcorn. That's the more traditional popcorn that you might see or you might eat on a regular basis. But I've always been a fan, even before I knew what it was, of the mushroom popcorn outright, because my favorite part of popcorn isn't the hull, isn't the the side pieces. It's that the puffy part. That's always my favorite part. Like, who doesn't like that part? Mushroom popcorn is like dominantly that part of the kernel. So if you like the ball part, the puffy part of the popcorn, find yourself some mushroom popcorn. You can get it just about anywhere that you might buy popcorn from. Maybe not in your chain stores, but it's certainly readily available. But now that is now my go-to popcorn. It's the only popcorn I want. Like, now if you give me butterfly popcorn, traditional popcorn, I'm like, I guess I'll eat it. It's not my favorite. It's not mushroom popcorn. But mushroom popcorn, despite the name, doesn't have mushrooms in it. I think it's just because of how it looks. Much like butterfly popcorn doesn't have butterflies in it, that I know of. It's just, I guess, how it kind of looks. Kind of, the wings kind of spread out that way, like a butterfly. So yeah, I'll now have mushroom popcorn sometimes, like a little bowl, sometimes a bigger bowl. It's mostly fiber, outright, nothing on it, no salt. Maybe we might sprinkle some Nooch on it, because this is the reason, by the way, they use mushroom popcorn in gourmet settings, because it allows like spices or like sprinkles. It adheres the coating adheres to the kernel better when it's a mushroom popcorn, because there's a bigger surface area, and you may enjoy that as well. So mushroom popcorn is what you're looking for. Didn't know that until the other day, and it was just happenstance. So I'm just passing along the information. Been drinking plenty of water, but as I said earlier, tea is not now a regular part of my routine. I'm not as inclined to go with the genmai cha as much as I enjoy the flavor of genmai cha. It might be kind of like a nice tea after dinner if we've got guests over, because it's very subtle, it's very smooth. But chai, specifically a certain variety of chai that has cinnamon, clove, and ginger in it. And so I'm getting those anti-inflammatory spices in my tea. Yes, as well as a bit of caffeine. So my new routine, this has really only been about a day, is specifically making a cup, and I steep it, boiling water 5 minutes, but I definitely like have way more than 8 ounces of water in my infuser. And then I basically have a big cup of tea, specifically the chai, in the morning, and I have that with my oatmeal, or as I'm making the oatmeal. Just, if only because of the anti-inflammatory nature of that particular tea. It's good, and it's a good taste too. It's very cidery, but hibiscus is now my drinking tea throughout the day. So and this is something that's been seen in other people too. Not just it's a good flavor, it's a good sipping thing, but also there's no caffeine in it, keeping my antioxidants peak, even when I'm not eating something that might be rich in antioxidants. So I'm definitely getting like way more antioxidants than I need to get, I'm sure. But it's nice. So I'm getting water, I'm getting tea that is beneficial to my body directly. It's not just for flavor. I learned this week, and this is not really tied to anything because I don't have a direct a link for it, but I learned that about a 10% saltwater solution is just as good as anything else that you might think of, like vinegar, to clean fruits and veggies. Although just rinsing like a fruit or vegetable under tap water gets rid of a lot of things. Doesn't get rid of everything. But tap water does well enough on its own. If you want to go the extra step, 10% saltwater solution, and of course rinse off the salt water before eating it because you don't need the salt, will do well enough. Okay, so now I'm on to, I told you this was going to be a long video. Now I'm on to some news stories. I'm just going to gloss over these because I realize I'm getting really winded. No, I'm not getting winded, but I'm very long-winded, and I realize I've been talking for almost an hour. I'll try to do my best to cut off in an hour. If everyone ate beans instead of beef, with one dietary change, the U.S. could almost meet greenhouse gas emission goals. So you catch that? Now this is what it's interesting, and I got the referral in the description. What's interesting to me is I hear a lot of people who claim, and I don't fault them for this, I think we should all be aware that the environment can be impacted by the things that we do. Not just human beings, but anything on the planet. I mean, as seen by the meat industry. But, if and when I see someone on their own volition, this is not something I would necessarily throw in anybody's face because I don't think that's just not right? But if someone else were saying, oh, I believe we should do this, to save the environment, why is this elected official doing what they're doing because it's going to destroy the environment and we have only one planet, and okay, well then take matters in your own hands. Don't expect someone else to do it for you. It's just like with nutrition. Don't put it in someone else's hands. Take it in your own hands. You are responsible for your body. You and you alone. I don't care what anybody else. You and you alone. If you're a responsible adult, you are responsible for it. So if you really believe in climate change and the impact on the environment, consider going vegan, specifically whole food, plant-based. If you believe that we make an impact on the environment, you owe it to yourself. And I'm gonna say this is hypocritical. I'm just saying that you owe it to yourself to understand the impact that you make by the choices you make and how that ripples. So if everyone ate beans instead of beef with one dietary change, the U.S. could almost meet greenhouse gas emission goals. I know there's probably a lot of farting involved, but not compared to the amount that might be expelled from livestock, specifically cattle. Also a link. This is where I got one of those wacky comments from. Meat industry blamed for the largest ever dead zone in Gulf of Mexico. This is not an exception. This is almost the rule. Like, the meat industry is eating our planet alive. But they're doing it because people are eating meat. So even if you don't accept the health benefits of not eating animal products, accept the environmental benefits, right? This isn't even political. This is just flat fact. So, like, you can politicize science all you want. That's not how science works. It's how it's worked in the past. If we were living in the medieval times and what? The earth, everything revolves around it, right? Like the sun revolves around the earth. Some people actually believe that. Like, I guess 27% of the population still believe that. So if you really care about the environment more than your health, I don't want to hear about you caring about the environment without you also taking the step to accept personal responsibility. And that doesn't just start with biking to work. That doesn't just, I mean, it may start with biking to work, but it doesn't stop at biking to work. It doesn't stop at having a more gas efficient vehicle. It doesn't stop at having an electric vehicle. It doesn't stop by decreasing your carbon footprint, you know, in every possible way that doesn't have anything to do with your diet, because your diet and the dietary choices you make are going to have a larger impact on not just yourself, but also the planet. I mean, this, so I'm just saying, I got some nice little articles, nice little reference points for everybody to use. There's also one, this is more something that I've passed along to people, 10 things the government doesn't want you to know. The video wasn't very well sourced. I mean, they did source the statements, but it wasn't as replete with information as I might have expected to say from a video covering the same topics from Mike the Vegan. There's just something that you may want to watch. I'm going to round this out here with some updates. Like I should have mentioned these at the beginning, but blood pressure seems to be normal. My pulse is resting in the 70s. I'm antsy right now. I'm hyped up. I'm doing a video. It's probably going to be in like 80s or 90s right now. Yeah, 80s or 90s. I'm in the 90s, just so you know. But I am looking to get back on the Gazelle to introduce some exercise. Drinking hibiscus tea for antioxidants to try to reduce oxidative stress during that workout. I don't have easy access to watercress, so I'm thinking about working that into my morning routine again, if only to further enhance, what it is that I'm already doing with my body with cardiovascular health, like physical exercise. But it's not a silo. It's not the only thing you need to do. It's diet. They always say diet and exercise for a reason. I'm working on introducing more fruits and vegetables into my daily routine, if only because I want to make sure I'm as regular as I need to be without underdoing it and without overdoing it. I'm going to leave you with one other experience that we had. We went to the doctor. It was in relation to the headaches. There was a kid's book at the doctor, and Jedi was reading it. I was like, it's just a kid's book. It's benign. It's innocuous. I'm flipping through it, and I'm reading, like, the farmer has all these animals. I'm like, okay, where's this going, right? And the farm animals go to a barbecue. So my mind is just like, and even if I wasn't on this path, I'd still think, that's kind of weird. Like, the farm animals are going to a barbecue. Not to be eaten, but to celebrate. These animals party at the barbecue. They party and they do games. They do all sorts. It's a fun book. But do you realize how creepy that is? That is, like, dark. That is so dark. Like, really. Like, you went to a barbecue. What do you think they're eating at a barbecue? I'm more than confident it's not broccoli. Unless it's a broccoli barbecue, but they didn't say that. It's a barbecue. I'm like, wow. There's a lot of that type of literature out there. I mean, now I don't have to worry about explaining to Jedi, that the baby chick that she once held we're eating. I never have to explain to her that those animals can have this anthropomorphized experience and we don't eat them because they're living creatures and we understand them to be living creatures. So that book at the doctor's office, I was just like, whoa. Would you be... Just imagine, let's shoes on the other foot. The cow drives a human being to a barbecue where they're eating humans. Let's not even go that far. Let's just say it's a human being driving other human beings to a barbecue or a party where the dinner is them. But maybe not them, but someone they knew or someone they're related to or someone in their own species. Well, we're all human species, but I think you understand what I'm saying. That was just... I got upset. Not like, unreasonably, but I'm like, dude, that's not right. That's just not right. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to wax pathetic for an hour of your time if you stuck with me. If you did, I would love a comment, a like, share, subscribe. I don't know how more regularly I can do these things. I'm going to try to stay on a weekly basis for now until I realize people just don't care anymore because you see traffic, doing that. I'm like, all right, they don't care. I'm not going to do it anymore. At least outright. The key word to use in a comment, if you listen this far, is Darth. D-A-R-T-H. Darth. Just work it into a comment. I love Darth mushrooms. Or I love Darth turnips. My favorite Darth vegetable is... Just work it into a comment. That's how I know you made it this far. Unless someone skipped to the end. If you skip to the end, you missed all the good stuff and you missed the meat. of the update. Thank you, everybody. Keep following me throughout social. You know, we'll have another week ahead of me with different discoveries, I'm sure. I'll keep you posted on the weight loss. I don't feel confident yet in showing you my dad bod because it's still too dad bod for me. Working on it. Give me another month, maybe. I think within a month's time, I may be able to reach my fat goals, my weight goals. But thank you for being a part of this journey. You've absolutely been supportive throughout, you know, all of this. I do really genuinely appreciate it. If you know any other people who may benefit from these things, feel free to send the videos along or the links or whatever, because we're all in this together. We're all on this planet together. May the force be with you.